others' ideas. Now this legal impact I'm not going to cover because since morning you have been listening to these cases. And the legal status also I'm not going to cover. It is recent is the Supreme Court's notification. Supreme Court direction, you have heard in the morning itself, I don't want to repeat. But reaction. What is the reaction of SC ruling when they have said that they have put a ban on the commercial surrogacy? The impact is that those women, the surrogate mothers, they disagree and they have filed a petition in the Supreme Court against the ruling of Supreme Court. What do they say? Feed us when we are starved, because we are poor women, so that's why they say that we are starving, and by becoming surrogate mothers, we are able to feed our families. What is wrong in this? They don't find there is anything wrong being surrogate mothers, and I did this for my child's education. Ability to have children is my God-given gift, and there is nothing wrong in sharing the power. They seek the withdrawal of ban on foreign couples from the Supreme Court. Next is that Dr. Patel also argues, and other doctors also, they also argue that we should have a very strict legal thing, and we shouldn't have a blanket ban on the foreigners for getting the surrogate mothers in India. Now, this is very important. Honorable Justice, he was also talking about this. Now, the Medical Research Institute, what they have made the guidelines in the art bill, the consent of surrogate mother, husband and family members should be mandatory. This is very important. All the points which they have raised to be included in the art bill, those are very good and very beneficial for the surrogate mothers, and just otherwise also for bringing the surrogacy on the level. Willingness of a mother to hand over the child after birth, financial support to the surrogate mother of the commercial couple if they die before the delivery of the child or they get separated. Life insurance, as per Honorable Justice, he was saying that life insurance is very essential. One of the commercial parents must be donor to have the biological relationship. Now, surrogate child is a legal child of the commercial parents, and there is no need for adoption. As I told you, the difference in the Indian law and the law in United States, the right to privacy of donor and surrogate mother, and no sex selection. Healthy married women between the age of 23 and 35 years who has a child of her own above 3 years. As Dr. Anup in the morning, he also expressed this thing. Commercial parents are legally bound to accept the child if the child is born with deformity, which Honorable Justice had pointed out, failing which 5 years imprisonment or fine of rupees 1 million or both can be imposed on the commercial parents if they refuse to accept the bill. Now, we are coming to the dark side of the surrogacy. Industry governed by guidelines, not legally binding. There is no law so far. The art bill still lying in the parliament. With additional fetus risk to the mother and the babies, premature and disabled babies are born, that Mr. Chadha also said, and Swamiji also said. There are 3 cycles of medication while opting a surrogate mother. And if the mother fails after these 3 things, then she is rejected. But 3 times the hormones given to her, that impact on the mother, that is also being neglected. In case of donating eggs, the woman is given, yes. I would like to request Mr. Gogna that we should have 2 separate topics. One is surrogacy, one is donation of eggs. When I talked about the Japa, the lady who died in January 2014, she was donating the eggs. Donating eggs is also a big industry, huge industry, where the women for donating eggs can get money from 40,000 to 1 lakh. So donating, the women is given fertility drugs. But because normally a woman, she produces 1 egg 1 month. Then they give the hormone and the fertility medicines. After that, she produces 10 to 40 eggs also, for which she is given extra money. So for that, they give the hormones also, they give the injection. With that, what happens after some time, the woman, she becomes obese, and it leads to mood swings also. And we are not discussing those things today. Such commercialization women has raised ethical, psychological, economical, and social questions. Now I will come to those psychological and emotional questions. Pregnancy is never free. Some of the risks apart from death are physical weakness, depression, when you know you do not own the child. What is the psychology of the women? When after 9 months she gets the child in her lap, she forgets all the pain, she forgets everything. But after 9 months, when you don't get anything, this is going to create a great depression for the women. And a country like India, where the mortality rate is so high, how can we put so many women on the risk? Caesarean further risks the complication for future pregnancies, also because most of the couples, commercial couples, they go out for caesarean only. Impact of surrogacy, economic. It is true that surrogate mother is given a good amount of money which she cannot dream of earning from any other means. The amount is equal to 10 years salary of a husband in rural India. He earns $120 to $145 a day. With pregnancy being succeeded, she gets $6,000. Poverty and vulnerability has a big role to play. They see it as a quick way out of poverty because the payment ranges between 6,000 to 7,000. This money needs. So I'm coming to this thing also because why do we say that when the woman gets the money, she can give good education to her children, she can get a good house for the family, she can arrange for a good marriage of her daughter. Why all the responsibility, why all the onus is on the shoulder of the women? What is the duty of a man? If a girl has to get good marriage, why it is mother's responsibility? Why if the family wants a house, why only women's responsibility? What role the man is supposed to play in this area? Why we are putting all the responsibility on the shoulders of the women? But so many times it does happen because the woman is separated from the family and with too much of money, which the man has never seen, he is bound to get into drugs and into alcoholism also. Social impact. Commercial surrogacy is unethical. It's a trade with women's bodies and threat to human rights and bodily integrity of the women. Unequal power balance between developed countries and third world. They exploit women's vulnerable economic situation in their craving for a child. Now here I want to point out one thing. We say that it gives joy to the childless parents. What happened to Shah Rukh Khan? What happened to Amir Khan? They already had children. Why did they hire surrogate mothers? Is it a show of money? Is it a show of power? Is it a show of arrogance? Why, despite having children, they go for the surrogate mothers? And in real cases also, so many times it does happen. I have read that we have 2 children, we want a third one also, so that's why we again want to hire a surrogate mother. What do you think of yourself? That Indian woman, she doesn't have any body integrity. You want to have more children, so that's why you go on using the Indian women because she is poor and she is vulnerable. And for the sake of money, she is undergoing all those things. Where are the women's rights I'm talking about? She is in serfdom during that period, living away from home, family, without sex. The right of childless couples should not predominate over women's basic rights. So one of the doctors I was talking, she says that when the contract is signed by the women, by the surrogate mother, most of the time they are illiterate, they are after money. They don't read the contract. To everything they go on saying yes, yes, yes. And when they have signed the contract, they are like slaves for 10 months to the commercial parents for whom they have signed that contract, and which is against the human dignity. Ethical, in India there is a source. Now, in India, we all Indians sitting over here, it's the man's psychology. Because I went to Anand and I talked to the surrogate mothers also. So one of the mother, she told me that she was having she was doing surrogate mother for the second time. When I asked her, I said, first time what happened? She said she got a daughter. I said, do you miss her? She said, ma'am, I have carried her in my womb for 9 months. How I cannot miss her? And she started crying also. So we people say that there is no emotional attachment. If you tell me that you produce a baby and you should not have an emotional attachment, in our Mahabharata, what is there? Abhimanyu story, all of us, we are aware of that story, that Abhimanyu in the womb of her mother, when we listen to the story that how to enter the Chakravyuh, and after that he slept off and he didn't know how to come out of the Chakravyuh. So this is how the women's thoughts, women's emotions, women's diet, women's values, they impact the child. If we produce children without emotion, without values, we are not producing human beings. We are just going to produce the robots. where there is no ethic, there is no value, and there are no emotion, as in the morning Dr. Chadda was also talking about. Second thing which is very important, because when I went to that Anand and I talked to women, I said, does your family know that you are here to and have become surrogate mother? They said, no ma'am, ऐसा भी नहीं हो सकता, वो तो हमारा नाम खराब हो जाएगा, because in the rural areas, why in rural areas, in big towns also, no makes unethical for Indian culture, for Indian society, that a woman should produce a child with the sperms of another man. That a woman should carry the sperms of another man. It is unethical in India. So that we also, it's unethical, and in some cases what has happened, when the woman is being surrogate mother, when she is staying in the hostel for 1 year, the man, he leaves the wife because he comes to the conclusion that she is not being faithful to me, she is not being sincere to me because she is carrying the child of another man. So this is how in India this is considered unethical also. One cannot have a contract to sell one's body or rent the body. When you sign that contract, what are you doing? You are renting the home, you are renting the body. And how can you rent your body? It's not a house, it's not a flat. It is a contract of temporary slavery, allowing surrogacies to make use of women's body and reproduce organs for the satisfaction and enjoyment of someone else. The right to body integrity is more important than for the right of parents to have children. Children have the rights to have parents, but there is no human rights for parents to have children. As per the contract, the surrogate mother has to sign an agreement. So as I told you in Anand, when I went, she started crying. She said, how can that be that I have carried him for carried her for 9 months and I don't have any emotion for the child? This belief seems to be unnatural because the child in the womb imbibes the emotions, values, thoughts, and love and care of the mother. I have covered this point already. Situation at Anand. Now what is the situation? In November 2015, 1001 surrogate child was delivered at a Kanksha clinic in Anand, 150 foreign couples on a waiting list, and every week 3 new women apply to be surrogate mothers. Now the most important thing and horrifying thing is multi-million pound clinic at Anand, self-catering department for Western couple, a floor for surrogate mother, delivery room, IVF department, a restaurant and gift shop. This has come in the paper. Now you tell me, if you go to Anand, you have seen the documentary also. Anand is a small place. Dr. Patel, she has got a small hospital. From that hospital, how can you earn so much of money that you can make a hospital which is multi-million pounds? So all that money which has come from the surrogate mother, because the surrogate mother is not supposed to directly talk to the commissioning parents. So most of the money either goes to the hospital or goes to the middleman, or the rest of the money is taken by the family and by the husband. And what is given to the women? Psychological, emotional traumas only. She doesn't get anything else after being surrogate mother. These are the photographs of Anand, Dr. Patel's hospital. All the women, they are lining, and these waiting for the delivery. And this is baby factories. It is nothing, this hospital is nothing but the factory which is producing the babies. Now conclusion, surrogacy may come under the discourse of reproductive rights, but more important is the perspective of human rights. Which is more important, reproductive right or the human rights? Because in Article 15 of the Constitution also it has been said that women's dignity has to be maintained. So whichever thing creates a doubt further against the dignity of the women, against the respect of the women, against the rights of the women, I don't think we are going to accept, and we should give a consent for that. A woman should not be used as mere vessel, and that her reproductive capabilities can be bought or are on sale. Therefore, we strongly feel that surrogacy should be rejected right away, condemned and disapproved by all. For parents who want to have a family, there are thousands of orphans waiting for adoption and for secure homes. So the child will have a love and security of the family, and the couples will no more be childless. The human rights of the women to her bodily integrity will also be respected. So I request all of you to please condemn this surrogacy. We should be more worried about the human rights, women integrity, women's body integrity, women's bodily respect, That is more important than giving a child to the childless couple who can have child for the adoption also from the orphanages. And then I have talked to you already, they are having two children, and third time they are going for the surrogate mother without bothering about the respect and dignity of the human life. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your erudite presentation. There have been 2 or 3 things that I have taken from you very well, and we hope that Mr. Gogna will now take all these points before the Select Committee of the Parliament, so that we take the symposium a step further. We should not just stop at discussing these things. We should take it a step further, and as Justice Bhatt had suggested in the morning. Now I call upon Dr. Alok Sharma to give her presentation. She is a professor at the Delhi University. Dr. Alok Sharma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Before Dr. Alok Sharma starts, I request Hema Sahu to please come on the dais, please.
Thank you. Now everything has been covered. I think since morning we are talking about different aspects. I want to concentrate on the legal aspect because I am from the legal field. But ma'am has lessened my burden of the latest bill. She has already been discussed. Now I want to say that in 2002 she has mentioned that this surrogacy becomes legal in our country, and as Dr. Anup Gupta has mentioned, in 1997 he has already produced the first baby in our country from this technique. Now, because of this emerging trade in our country, and it's millions and millions of money which the people are earning in our country, the government felt need to regulate this surrogacy problem, and we did not have any binding thing on this aspect, and this only we have the guidelines issued by the Indian Council of Medical Research in 2005. Basically, that is about how to regulate the ART clinics. So that is the guidelines issued by that authority, but it is not binding as such because it is guidelines only. So it's not it's impact of the thing. Now, when the government felt need to enact some bill on this, so the first initiative was took in year 2008 with the ART regulation bill 2008. But that bill, was not sufficient, and Parliament did not pass the bill. But in that bill, we have wider categories of people who can avail the benefit of surrogacy. Like, one aspect is that only married couples can go for surrogacy in that. But the surrogate mothers can be married women, can be unmarried women, single women, so that category was wider. Of course, the commissioning parents can be the married couples at that time. And the chapter 7 talks about rights and duties of patients, donors, surrogates and children, where the section 34 talks about the rights of the surrogate women, and it talks about that during the time of pregnancy, the all expenses has to be borne by the paid by the commissioning parents, and the insurance of the mother also during the time of pregnancy and delivery only. After the delivery, that is the time where insurance is there. In addition to all these expenses, she was able to get the compensation in addition to the expenses. But no amount of compensation has been mentioned there. The age was 21 to 45, both inclusive. That was the wider range of the women who can become surrogate, and she could do this surrogacy only for 3 times. That was the limit by 2008 bill, and the relative known people, unknown, all can be the surrogate mothers at that time. So in that bill it is wider category, all of them can do it, and the foreigners are also allowed to take the benefit of surrogacy. And basically because of this allowing of foreigners, that we have this much trade in our country, because 40% of the commissioning parents are foreigners, and then they pay hefty amounts for this, so we generate this much amount. And this interesting aspect of this is that payment was to be made in 4 installments. 3 installments the surrogate mother used to get before the delivery and 1 after delivery. So the risk was very less that the commissioning parents will not pay afterwards. But this bill was, facing so many problems, so many lacunas, so Parliament did not pass the bill, and government requested the Law Commission of India to give a comprehensive report on surrogacy aspect. The Law Commission gave its report, 228th report on surrogacy, where Law Commission recommended that the commercial surrogacy should be completely banned. And it says that the surrogacy is quite prevalent in our country, so we cannot prohibit it, but we have to regulate it, and there is a need for the legislation. So Law Commission recommended legislation. Then as the bill of 2008 elapsed, then a new bill in 2010 emerged, and again it talks about the rights of the surrogate mother. And in this also same things applied, that married women and others, here the category was widened. Married couples can go for surrogacy, even single women can go for surrogacy, and the women who are living in the live-in relationship can also have the child from surrogacy. So 2010 bill was wider in this aspect, that different kind of categories can avail the benefit of surrogacy, and the rights are almost similar, that the compensation, expenses, insurance is to be given, but the age limit was curtailed. Now in 2010 it is from 21 to 35 years only. So for 15 years when she is a surrogate mother can be of 21 to 35 years of age, and she can produce 5 times. So but including her own children. So 5 times is the limit fixed by that. And unmarried women can also be the surrogate mothers. Relative, unknown, all are allowed, and foreigners again are allowed in this 2010 bill, but there are stringent regulations were suggested in cases of foreigners. So they try to put a limit. So the subsequent act we talk about, the earlier 2008 wide limits for the foreigners. All liberties are there, but as the parliament moves, as the government moves further, they put restrictions on the foreigners, so that it should be highly regulated in cases of foreigners. And the surrogacy in India is allowed to Indian citizen only. Means Indian women can only be a surrogate, so these clinics cannot hire a woman from foreign, or they cannot send women to the foreign countries, Indian women, for surrogacy. So surrogacy can be conducted here in India only on the Indian women. So that is another aspect of this. The status of the child is that the child will be considered child of the commissioning parents. So here there is no issue that the surrogate mother has no legal right as far as that child is concerned, since the initial time the birth certificate will also have the name of the commissioning parents. So that is another thing. Then this bill, of course, it also elapsed, the parliament could not pass. Then in 2013 another third bill came into row, and in this they say that they curtail again the category, and they say married couple or the people who are living in live-in relationships, these two categories can avail the benefit of surrogate mothers. So now they have, in 2013 they put restriction on the gay couples and the unmarried couples, that they cannot have, the single people cannot have the surrogate child. So 2013 specifically talks about that only couples married or even the live-in relationship, they can have the benefit of surrogacy. And this 3 pregnancies can be allowed. Now earlier it was 5 including her own children. Now it is curtailed to 3 pregnancies including her own children. So now the number is lessened, and minimum 2-year interval is required between the birth of 2 children. So that is 2 years minimum gap should be there. So means they want to regulate in a better way for the protection of the health of the surrogate mother subsequently when they move ahead. And the age limit is again in this 21 to 35 years. And foreigners again allowed, but highly regulated conditions were imposed on foreigners if they want to avail the benefit. Now, she can terminate also the pregnancy at any time if there is a medical complication. Now, this is for the first time in 2013 bill when they talk about the termination of pregnancy by women. But it is in cases of when medical complications are there. So then she will abort the child and she will have not to pay to the commissioning parents. But if there is no medical anomaly in her pregnancy, then if she aborts the child, then she has to pay all expenses incurred by the commissioning parents. So plainly we are saying that that is not allowed because practically it is not possible for her to repay the amount. So it is in this way it is taking right is there, but she cannot avail that right. Now this again this bill was quite inadequate, and it is because it is talks about only the commissioning parents, the child, and it does not bother about the interest and rights of the surrogate mother. And moreover, it does not talk about anything about the agents who are involved, the intermediaries, the tourism agents. Basically, these are the people who are flourishing from this kind of trade, because they take lakhs and lakhs of rupees from these commissioning parents, but they do not pay it to the surrogate mother. So basically, in this bill, there was no thing, because it was expected that the payment should be, whatever compensation or expenses should be come to the directly to the bank accounts of these women. But this bill again did not talk about anything in this way, and this so no regulation as far as these agents are concerned. And the number of ART cycles, even the bill has fixed the number of pregnancies up to 3, including her own children, but it does not talk about the cycle of medication, because these ART clinics basically the rate of success is very low and rate of failure is very high. So in order to get one successful pregnancy, 3, 4, 5 attempts has to be conducted. Now there is no limit in this bill as far as how many these attempts can be there, because each and every attempt cause, as ma'am has already mentioned, that the adverse effect on the health of the woman. So there was no limitation as far as the child were fixed, but not the number of cycle of medication was not fixed. And this bill, does not talk about any health risks. It talks about that health risks are there, but it has not provided any list what kind of risks a woman can have. These kind of lists should be provided, so that, because if women are unaware, because they are only concerned about making money out of this trade, and they are not aware that the number of cycles basically they are facing, the health is deteriorating in each and every attempt. So, and the status of the child is also, we say that after the death of the commissioning parents in 2000 bill, it was not fixed, and if they refuse the child to take the child back. So this bill also lapsed, and the last latest is 2014 bill, as ma'am has deliberated upon. Now in this bill, whatever discussion, whatever points we have, the government has tried to incorporate this. So the new bill is the best among all the 4, we can say. Here we talk about the rights of the surrogate women. It is in comprehensive way, it is there. Compensation is there. If she dies, additional compensation is there. More insurance aspect is there. So different kind of betterment is produced, but this bill is not, produced before the parliament, has not passed. And one aspect I want to mention, that we have to regulate this surrogacy trade. In order to, we have to think about the compensation as well as the immoral trafficking also. So this trade, this should be regulated. An act should be there with various kind of amendments, but this aspect should also be taken into consideration by the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. Alok Sharma. I'd like to request Swamiji now. Swamiji, to please present a memento to Dr. Alok Sharma and also a memento to Dr. Gurjeet Kaur. And a memento to Dr. Alok Sharma. I now request Hema Sahu, advocate, to give her presentation, and I would request her to sort of wrap it up in 5 minutes because we're running short on time.
So you are left with no major responsibility to explain the things. Similarly, we have got two groups. One group is interested in banning surrogacy. Another group is interested in regulating surrogacy. I am from the second group. I am interested in regulating the surrogacy instead of banning it. So we have already gone through as to what is surrogacy. I need not have to explain because of the alphabet.
आगे
So we have already discussed as what is surrogacy. I need not like it is majorly it is and what is commercial surrogacy? By now everyone knows about it. What is surrogacy? We all know it. Now we have this assisted reproductive technology. In today's world, the outsourcing by the new technology the concept of parenthood across the humanity has changed. Money legally exchanged for babies and reproductive labor, thereby expanding the flourishing international business. There is a changing trend for last few decades. There is a commercialization of the full process where surrogacy is considered to be similar to baby selling as has already been discussed, and thus a law comparable to one prohibiting the sale of human organs should apply to sale of child bearing. For other surrogacy arrangements,